Welcome to Command Control Power, the longest-running Apple consulting podcast. For over a decade, we've delivered weekly episodes filled with epic tech support stories, troubleshooting insights, discussions about managing clients and businesses, and interviews with industry colleagues and vendors, all tailored for our pro listeners. We also offer exclusive content through Patreon. This private podcast feed is designed specifically for IT professionals, providing valuable advice and guidance on tackling the more complex aspects of running your practice, working with clients and employees, and managing device fleets. With a modest monthly contribution, you'll gain access to a wealth of advanced Apple expertise, meaningful connections, and a community driven by a shared passion for Apple technology. Visit commandcontrolpower.com and click support to learn more.
Command Control Power is brought to you commercial-free thanks to the support of our incredible community. We extend a special thank you to our VIP Premier partners, Adigy, the leading Apple device management platform, Tidbits Content Network, Watchman Monitoring, Cirrus Partners, Electrona, the makers of Patch, and our newest VIP partner, Scout IT. We truly appreciate our VIP supporters and all of our patrons for making this show possible. Thank you.
Welcome to another episode of Command Control Power. Good to see you guys. How are you both doing today?
I'm a rock star today. Look at that.
Great.
Lasers.
You're doing great. That's why you got to watch the video, the YouTube video. Sam just did some lasers and strobes.
Yeah.
I've been late to the party on a couple of these shows on Apple TV. And so shame on me. I'm going to lead with that. So
What shows?
I still refuse to watch Ted Lasso because I watched an episode. I know everybody loves it. Everybody loves it.
Good, man. Yeah.
That's what my wife keeps telling me. And I watched a few and I thought it was like, it's kind of like dopey. But
too happy for you?
I don't know. Yeah. But the other one there's two that I actually missed the boat on. And one was the morning show with Jennifer Aniston.
That's a great show. Season 1 was awesome.
I thought it was going to be this jokey kind of thing with Steve Carell, and it's not. It's a serious drama. And the one my wife and I just started watching, and people have been raving about it, and I've never listened because I thought I had seen it. And, one of these, another drama about the space program, blah, 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 was For All Mankind.
Oh, great show.
Oh, my gosh. As soon as somebody told me, and this won't spoil it for you, Joe, that it's an alternate timeline of the space program.
Right. Yes.
I was like, oh, really? And so we started watching it, and I'm hooked.
So good. I think season 5, I dropped off, but those first few seasons are so good.
And I love the guy. I don't know if he's continued through all the seasons, but the lead actor, the lead male role, Joel Kidman, who's in season 1, he's the astronaut who's going to be on Apollo 15. So is he through all the?
Actually, I can't say everything because then
Okay, don't say everything. Say that thing though. He was terrific because he was in this series called The Killing, which was based on a Norwegian series but it was a wonderful fictional detective thriller thing that went on for a long time. But I was a big fan of his work from that. This Week in Movies with Jerry, Joe, and Sam.
Yeah, nice.
In alphabetical.
Did you guys watch Hail Mary? Have you seen Hail Mary?
Yes. I saw that, yeah.
Yes. Hail Mary Project.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I saw IMAX too. I saw it in before it came out. Amazon Prime did a thing where you could get tickets early, like the week before it came out. Yeah, it looked interesting. I wasn't blown away.
Oh,
I don't know. It's worth seeing, but I wasn't. I don't know. For some reason, it just didn't I didn't find it as gripping.
Get the hell out of here, Joe.
I'm looking forward to Disclosure Day. Have you guys heard about?
Okay, hold on. No, before we move on, hold on. Put a pin in that.
What's our podcast about anyway?
Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian, the great movie with Matt Damon, did a pretty good interpretation of that book, right? Hail Mary Project, another Andy Weir novel, really dense. It really requires a lot of concentration to get through that book. It's not a page turner like The Martian is. So they did a pretty good job in terms of representing on the screen Hail Mary Project. But what I objected to was they tried to make it a little bit too ET-esque. And the Rocky counterpart was not that way in the book. He was friendly, but he wasn't like ET. I could see the people who watched some of the trailers for it or the dailies when they're filming it, they're going like, yeah, we got to come up with some stuff that we can market for the kids. articulating robots and things like that. So I think there was a little bit of that in mind.
They definitely got the kids. We heard somebody in the theater crying when, I forget what the scene was, over something with Rocky. So I think they probably did the right thing by making that character as relatable as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, that part's interesting. Like the fact that it's this alien life form that's I don't know what to give away and what not to give away.
Yeah, I can tell you I walked into the movie not knowing any of that. So I think you guys are spoiling it for people.
But if you read the book now after seeing the movie and you like the movie or you love the movie, it would really fill in a lot of the blanks for you and really make it that much a richer experience. So Joe, I interrupted you. What was the...
speaking of E.T., it was a great Spielberg movie. He's got one coming out on the same theme of aliens, and it's called Disclosure Day. And that's coming out in June, I think. The rumors have always been like he's tapped into some stuff, and it's kind of part of whatever disclosure process the powers that be may be using, getting people comfortable with this idea of there's other life out there. You guys were around for the New Jersey drone thing a couple of years ago, remember, a year and a half ago? And,
not even.
Yeah, and maybe not even. Still no real explanation from that. And there's lots of stuff that's in the news now. Our president is saying he's going to disclose stuff and said something about to the Pope about the Vatican has all kinds of files and I know all this information. And if I disclose this, then it would be really bad for Catholics everywhere. So I wouldn't do that to them, but I could if I wanted to. This typical blustery stuff. And then Spielberg has his movie coming out. And so is this part of this slow drip kind of thing to get people comfortable with this idea that there's a life form from another dimension that created humans on Earth or crossbred us with whatever apes or whatever here. And then there's all these theories about all this stuff. And a lot of this stuff is like coming to a head recently in terms of like rumors and people speaking out and stuff. So if you're interested in this topic, I would say, yeah, Disclosure Day is something to look forward to. But also in the meantime, there's a really great movie out called Age of Disclosure, which is interviews with tons of people in government who are now speaking out about this and former people who were involved in these programs. And they talk about how a lot of this stuff was covered up for so many years. And there's this thing called the Legacy Program that was responsible for basically keeping a lot of this stuff under wraps, like the information they know and how there are craft that have crashed and like Roswell, et cetera. And there's a whole program of which agency intervenes and collects the thing, which agency then like basically the private sector, like Lockheed Martin and these companies, then reverse engineer whatever they find to try to figure out like how it works and whatever, and obviously turn it into a product or whatever, and then overseen by whatever other government agencies. So they like mapped out a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of unknowns, but it's amazing how high level a lot of the people are that are actually talking about it. So there's a lot to it. We're way past the point of like aliens. This is these conspiratorial people. It's the conspiratorial people are the ones that say, I've got it all figured out. This is what's really going on. I still roll my eyes at a lot of that stuff, but it seems like there's some harder facts that are coming out about this, and it's a really fascinating time.
This is just to distract you from the Epstein files, Joe. That's why
yes, I totally agree with that. When and if we get any kind of disclosure, it will be to cover up whatever story is breaking. But anyway, back to we move on to the materialistic tech that we have today and not the fantasy sci-fi tech stuff that we've been talking about.
Our computers are based on alien technology. That's why they're so advanced.
Yeah, exactly. Liquid
just glass. To bring it all home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, advanced, quote unquote advanced. I got a follow up here that's been in my notes for a little while. I've probably mentioned it already based on my track record from the last show we just recorded, but I don't think I have.
Do you want me to stop you if we've heard this before?
Yeah. Okay. And a long time ago, I talked about an issue where a former employee of a client who had enrolled her personal Mac with our management when she was working for this client that we manage, called after 6 months or something after leaving and said, my Mac is still managed by you guys. I thought we unenrolled it. And I went in, no, it's unenrolled. What are you seeing? Here, and a little bit back and forth. And what it was, the login window showed our little login window banner. Remember, it's like, managed by SciMac,
you couldn't get rid of
the company. Yeah. So couldn't figure it out. Okay. Oh, no problem. Here's the instructions. Go into your login window settings, delete whatever's there. Nope, that didn't do it. Okay, let me connect and see what's going on. So I go in there, login window settings. No, you turn off the login window message. doesn't remove it. And then she pointed out, we figured out that basically it doesn't happen on the normal lock screen. It just happens upon restart. So it's part of the file vault, essentially, we figured out. And we tried overwriting it with something else, but then deleting it. I don't know. We couldn't remove the message is the bottom line, no matter what we tried. So fast forward now, this has to be at least an entire macOS version later, if not 2. I see in the What's New for Enterprise in Tahoe 26.4. So this is a month ago or something. Login window settings configured by device management correctly return to defaults after the configuration is removed. That is an Apple update. So finally, I'm vindicated that it wasn't my management problem. It was, an Apple bug.
Apple for the win.
Yeah,
no kidding.
So there you go.
That's pretty crazy. Did you reach out to that person now and be like, hey, can you restart and let me know?
And we haven't heard back from her. So we figured, because one thing we did was we turned off File Vault and then we started, and sure enough, it's gone. But I'm like, well, you probably want to use File Vault, so let's turn it back on. It brought it back. But at some point I figured she must have upgraded and this.
Did you punch the sky when you read that?
Yeah, it's like lasers, all the things.
Judd Nelson and Breakfast Club. Yeah.
One more thing I thought, this may over a PSA for the broader audience. In 26.4, family sharing, Apple's note is that purchase sharing lets adult family members in family sharing groups use their own payment method when making purchases without relying on the family organizer.
Oh, nice.
That's a nice little quality of life improvement. People have probably asked for that. And it used to be you just have one card. When you use family sharing, everything goes through one person's credit card. So it's a nice improvement to be able to allow adults at least to have different purchases.
For sure.
Where maybe somebody has a family sharing account where they're still sharing iCloud in that way, but maybe the parents are divorced or something like that, and they still keep that family sharing group, but maybe they want to use different credit cards. There's lots of scenarios you can imagine where that would be helpful. So there you go.
Nice. I like that one. Thanks for Joe's always the one reads in through all the little notes and finds good nuggets in there. So I like that.
Quality reading for Joe.
Yeah, occasionally. Yeah. Actually, I did read another note. You want to hear this one too? I got another PSA for you. Yeah. So this was on my own network. I noticed that I saw the little less secure caution symbol in my Wi-Fi. And I'm like, okay, let me see why this is. And it was on a, personal hotspot network. I was connected to my iPhone. I was troubleshooting my internet or something, or upgrading or doing something. And I was on my iPhone personal hotspot. And it showed the little caution symbol. Okay, what do you mean this is less secure? So it takes you to a link that is regarding hidden Wi-Fi networks. So according to Apple, basically it's less secure to use a hidden Wi-Fi network. Mr. Apple's nodding along. You already knew this.
It's on the test, Joe. It's on the test.
Yeah, I know. And I think I kind of knew this, but didn't really internalize why. But I don't know because why. Essentially, it's because your device might search for networks by name, I think, which can then expose to other devices that are like listening for those Wi-Fi packets, what your home network name is. Do I have that right, Sam? Is that related?
I think that's part of it. There's also another component on the security side of it could cause extra work for the device to try and connect. There's some more to that as well.
Yeah.
And they're not very secure because people can, like you said, like scan for them and be like, all right, I got your network now.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can find it anyway. So it's kind of, I always thought of it as like a false sense of security because it's like you can still find the network name and the network, even though you have it quite unquote hidden.
Well, how can you find it? Other tools play devil's advocate.
I think
Wireshark or something can find it.
Wireshark,
network packet sniffers.
Baby Shark.
Yeah. They also say your router might incorrectly use the word closed to mean hidden and quote broadcast to mean not hidden. So I don't know why Apple calls that out, that it might incorrectly use this term closed. But it basically says hiding the network name doesn't conceal the network from detection or secure it against unauthorized access. So again, that's the security by obscurity. It's not really obscure anyway, so don't think of that as security. It's a false sense of security. And because of how devices search for and connect to Wi-Fi networks, using a hidden network might expose information that can be used to identify you and the hidden networks you use, such as your home network. When connected to a hidden network, your device might show a privacy warning because of this privacy risk. So that's why it was showing up in my system settings there. So I click and read, so you don't have to. There you go.
Thanks for the clip notes, Joe.
Yeah.
I got a little tip. It's not an Apple PSA or anything like that, but it's a tip that helped me. So I'll throw it out there to see if it helped anybody else. But this was kind of one of those interesting things for me anyway, where it's a personal level, not work necessarily. Months ago, I had added a contact for someone related to college stuff for my kid. And I was like, I want to remember this as important. And I even thought I put some notes in there to help me find them. Because oftentimes, if I can't remember a name, hopefully I have some keywords in the note where I can find information about them. And I couldn't find anything about who I thought was stored in my contacts. I was searching through trying to find a name that would ring a bell, but I have a lot of contacts, hundreds upon hundreds. So it was impossible to find. And I don't know if you guys have ever looked, but you can't sort contacts by date added. Right. You can sort by name, but you can't sort by date added. And that was something I needed because I knew when I had met this person. Right. So I was like, if I could just find when I added that contact, it would be perfect. And I was doing some digging and I found a website that it was actually on Simply Mac where someone had written an article about creating a shortcut to find your contacts. And then within the shortcut, you could set the sort order of creation date. And then I went into contacts, I created that sort order, I went into creation date and found the contact I was looking for based on that.
Wow. Very cool.
I thought that was really cool because I was like, how come contacts can't sort by date created? I was just pissed off about it. Because if you look at your file system, of course, you could do that. Right. But anyway, yeah, it was a pretty neat find for me. And I have that shortcut on my iPhone now just in case I ever needed it.
It reminds me of that long-standing idea that I have. And this week, it's been really busy. And I've been thinking, man, I wish I had this for phone calls to say, why can't I just make a shortcut that will say, look at my call log and show me all the calls from the last 48 hours that were more than 10 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever amount I want. It seems the information is there. Shortcuts, in theory, can do this type of thing, but Apple doesn't make the phone call log accessible to anything as far as I can tell. I guess maybe to apps if you write a Swift.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but it's amazing what there's these little. The other thing that drives me a little crazy is that this is not the built-in phone app, but the Ring Central app. On my iPhone, I can see the list of all my calls in the Ring Central app, and I can tap the little I and I can see how long the call was. A lot of times I use the call log for billable stuff, right? I was on the phone for how long? Okay, this is the charges, whatever. But in the Ring Central app on my Mac, it uses these fuzzy dates and things. It doesn't show, so it'll just say yesterday. It doesn't show the time there that I had the call. It just says yesterday. I'm like, okay, so fine. So then the other one is even though I'm on a Mac, I have all this information. If I click on, let's see, what was the issue? Yeah, that was the issue. Sorry.
That was the issue.
I had to go to that screen to remind myself. Yeah, the time of the call is shown below it, but it only shows yesterday. It doesn't show like when the call occurred yesterday. And as far as I can tell, in the Ring Central app on the Mac, I can't tell what time the call occurred. Like you'd think that a list of calls would show the time that the call occurred.
And it's a business calling. It's not like...
Exactly. It's just baffling to me, some of the stuff that's missing from this. And I'm like, okay, maybe drag the column wider. Like how much space do you need? You have all the space you need and it just still doesn't bother to show the time of a call of all things. So yeah, just little weird stuff like that. But that's a really clever workaround. To your situation, I especially like the fact that you don't have to install an app or buy an app, but moreover, you don't have to upload your stuff to some purpose-built website or whatever. No,
yeah, I definitely wouldn't have done that.
So yeah.
Yeah, I don't use shortcuts nearly as much as I should. And for things like this, that's a special use case. But for your point about convenience of finding things easily so you can build, I feel like that's the missing piece that I really don't use shortcuts to its full potential. So it was cool to find something that was useful to me.
Yeah. The other one I want to play with is the NFC stuff. Have you ever done anything like that? Like where you can run a shortcut when your phone is brought near an NFC tag? An NFC tag could be, apparently you can even use an old hotel key card. You know, they use NFC to unlock your hotel room. If you still have the card, it's able to broadcast NFC whatever signals. And so you can literally just stick that on the wall or something and then tap your phone to it to run a shortcut.
Oh, yes. I have heard of stuff like that, actually.
Yeah.
There was one, I think there was also a little Wi-Fi thing that did that via NFC. If you wanted to share your Wi-Fi with somebody, they could tap their phone to it. And
I put one in a place that I help manage that needs to share Wi-Fi, like a hospitality type situation.
Yeah.
It's really handy. Yeah. They have a QR code as a backup, but yeah, it's a cool technology, and it makes me want to find more uses for shortcuts and the NFC stuff. So
for sure,
in my spare time. But
I know.
Yeah.
God.
I actually got one, and I had wanted to mention this on the show, and it was on my list, and then somehow it fell off. And Joe, you talking about this reminded me of it. I went on Amazon or maybe eBay and bought a couple of programmable little credit card NFC thingies.
Readers?
No?
You mean the card? I think it's just a NFC card or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you can program it. So in either case, I have one for my home support, and I had one for my business support. And so I'm at a client, and just as you're heading out the door, say, if you'd like to leave us a review, just scan this. And so in theory, they would take out their phone, open up the camera, or no, they don't even need to, they would just, would just tap it. Yeah. Now, have I ever used it? No, but I had them sitting in my wallet, and they're still there. And I probably did this about a year ago, but it was a brilliant idea, but I just haven't taken it.
Actually is. Yeah. But you haven't put it into action.
And I got the idea from a little placard that I saw in one of my former clients who was a pet store. And so you could walk up to the counter and just scan the QR code and leave them a review. Yeah, and we've seen that sometimes happens at restaurants. And so that gave me the idea of just let me get something that's small that I could travel around with, and somebody could just land. Because it's always difficult, like after the fact, to send somebody an email and say, oh, thank you for letting us serve you. And if you'd like to send us a review, here's the link. And a lot of times they don't do it. Where if you catch them at the moment, they might, at the very least, give you 5 stars or 4 stars.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, when it's top of mind and they're at their peak of satisfaction.
Excitement, yeah,
exactly. I got a couple more tips here. Well, let's see. So, all right, first one is easy. So I found myself constantly quitting Safari by accident.
Yeah. Now you close a window with Command W and you hit Q by mistake.
Exactly.
Yes, dude, all the time.
I'm really not I'm not a good typist. As I've probably talked about on the show, I don't know what the home row keys are. It's like I never learned to type. Yeah, I'm always just mashing the wrong thing and hitting Command Q and Command W, which is right next to it. And I might have, the way I work, I've got 50 tabs open and I'm switching between things and whatever. And sometimes I've typed some things into a tab, and usually that stuff is remembered and you can pick up where you left off. But every once in a while, you reopen it and it's, oh, welcome back, sign in, it's fresh. And then you do lose the place or whatever. So anyway, it became annoying enough where I'm like, what do I do? So of course, I'm sure there's 15 different extensions for Safari to change this, but I didn't want to run another extension.
Yeah.
So I looked into a built-in way to do it. Basically, it's really easy. You can simply use the keyboard shortcuts in System Settings keyboard, and you can remap your quit command, and you can make it specific to Safari. So you can so what they let you do with the keyboard shortcuts section is say, apply this to all apps or apply this to a specific app. And then, okay, great. What do you want to remap? And you name it by the exact command. So in this case, the command is quit Safari, and I've remapped that to Option Command Q. Simple as that. Problem solved. I hit Command Q and nothing happens, and I'm glad for that. And if I wanted quit with the keyboard shortcut, I could use Command Shift Q, but more realistically, I almost never quit Safari unless it starts to eat up my memory and uses 40 gigs and then everything else locks up and then I'm stuck and I have to, literally yesterday this happened and I took a picture of the notes that I had typed into this ticket that I was updating. I'm like, I don't want to lose this. I had already copied and pasted. I'm like, I don't know if my system is even going to remember that I pasted it over here. Let me take a physical photo with my phone. And then I had to quit Safari and reopen it and back to normal. Thank you, Apple. But Command Option Q if I need it.
That's actually a great idea. I don't know why, because I've been frustrated by that for so many times. And in Google Chrome, you have to hold down Command Q
which I find so annoying.
It is annoying
before because
I turn that off right away.
Yeah, oh, really? Yeah, on a client machine, I don't change it, but that's where it affects me. Is if I'm on their machine and I want to quit their Chrome, and I'm like, this little non-standard pop-up thing.
Terrible.
And then here's my other question. When you're holding Command Q, like, especially if you're remote, like, how long do you hold it? Because if you keep holding it, isn't the next app going to receive the Command Q that you're still holding? And like, now everything's quit?
I think you have to release it, but it's still frustrating as all hell. So I didn't even know you could turn that off, to be honest with you. But.
Yeah, exactly. I've never looked because I don't use it enough to care for myself, but it's with clients and I don't want to change their defaults really. But yeah, this changing my default solves that in Safari. So I'm finally on board with, I get it. I get why Google did that because probably too many people complained, but I don't think their solution was particularly good to hold it down or whatever.
I'm definitely creating that Safari keyboard shortcut though.
Yeah, nice. As we speak, I hope.
Yeah, of course.
I got another question and tip.
This is why he listens to this show, Joe.
Jerry, you might actually get something out of this next one too. For those of us rocking the 13 or 14-inch Macs, like the MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, especially with the camera housing that takes up a little chunk of the menu bar now, how are you managing your menu bar icons? Jerry, you install every app you see online, so I assume you have quite a few things running there, like the old march of the system extensions in the OS 7 days. You have the little march of your icons appearing when you log in. Do you use Bartender or what's the other one, Ice Bar or something like that?
Yeah, I was using Bartender and then it wasn't working out. There were some problems with it.
Yes.
So I went to maybe Ice Bar, or a fork of that. I'm looking now in my applications. Hyper.
Sure. I like Bartender.
Thaw. Let me see. I'm opening up Thaw settings, so it might be Ice. It's called Thaw, Joe.
Thaw. Might be a different one. Okay.
Which is a fork.
Weird.
It's free, and it's terrific.
Okay. So I was using whatever that forked from, which I think is Ice Bar or something. It got a little glitchy and weird, and you'd click to bring up the thing you wanted, and it would appear over in the wrong place. And also, those apps need accessibility permissions and screen recording, I believe. And I'm not a big fan of just giving everything screen recording.
Yeah, it's too dodgy, Joe. I wouldn't go for it.
And also, it pops, because it's recording your screen, you get the little screen recording prompt occasionally where it's, oh, this app was looking at your screen. I know it needs to do that for its job, but it's just too weird for me. It's not supported by Apple. I don't know what hacky thing they're using to make it work. I'm impressed they can make it work at all. Bartender was great for a long time. Something changed. They got bought by somebody, which is also the concern, is like when one of these companies, you're relying on them, you've given them all the permissions in the world because you trust the developers, then they sell to somebody else. And did Russia buy this? And they're like now going to spy on?
The Chinese bought it.
Right. Is that the Trumpian pronunciation?
China.
Yeah, it's pronounced Gina, but anyway. So yeah, I just whatever country they're based in. The point is, I don't think we should give everybody access to this stuff willy nilly. So I was looking for a solution.
Willie Nelson.
So first of all, here's my recommendation: turn off the redundant ones. So I've had Wi-Fi there for a while. You don't need it; it's in Control Center. Right? You just click on Control Center and then you've got your Wi-Fi controls. Okay, so I don't need a separate Wi-Fi menu. Turn off Bluetooth for the same reason. It's in the Control Center now. I was insisting on keeping the defaults and having this stuff that I've had forever, but I just turned those off. So there's two I just got rid of that I don't need at all. I used to have the keyboard one because I was using it for special characters when the emoji key wasn't working and stuff, and the keyboard anyway. So I don't need that one anymore. So I got rid of all those. Move the less frequently used ones, like all the way to the left. So those are the first to drop off, right? So you always have like the ones you really need to the right. So I've already got it cleaned up really well. Ice Bar was the other one. I made these notes. Actually, I should have read in more detail first. You can also, here's the actual tip. You can actually reduce the spacing between the icons. So if you've tried a couple of these tips that I'm giving you, remove the ones you don't need, move them around, whatever. If you need just a little bit more space, you can actually adjust the menu item spacing. So this was thanks to a Reddit tip, and it doesn't matter if we need the link or not, but you can find this on Reddit. PSA, reduce your menu bar spacing to fit more items if you want to search for this original conversation on Reddit. But it's basically a defaults right command. So it's defaults -current host right -global domain. And the preference is NS status item spacing. -int, so integer, and then whatever integer you want. So spacing could be, I don't remember what the default is. Maybe the default is 7 or 10 pixels. You can reduce it to 3 or 4 or 5 pixels, but because there's so many items, you pick up a little bit of space that way as well.
That's actually useful because my laptop, when I'm not at my desk, I have too many icons. I'm not using Bartender on that one. I probably should, but this would be really helpful because sometimes I can't get to my 1Password menu bar item and it's hidden because I got too many open there. Send me that command if you don't mind.
Yeah. I'll put it in our chat right now.
I don't want to wait for the show notes.
Yeah. That was one that was really helpful. And I'll give another. I love these defaults write commands because it's supported by Apple. It's a feature that is really useful. And they actually, I think, surfaced one of these. I think I read this on Daring Fireball, perhaps. And it's a tip on Tidbits also. And I think they surfaced this defaults write command finally after many years in Tahoe. So you can actually adjust this in Tahoe by default. And in prior macOS versions, I have a client, for example, who has a server that they connect to on the local network, and they drill down into so they use column view and they're drilling down. And some of the folders contain items that have really long names, right? And then others are short names. And so as you're drilling down, each column always defaults to the same width, and most of them are cut off the file name, and they want to see the full file name. So they go in and they drag the column. They go into the next level and they drag the column. So you're resizing the columns manually. I also showed them you can double click the little column divider and it will expand to the width that it needs to be. Okay, but that's still another step. Apple makes this option in the Finder to enable column auto sizing. So here's another defaults write command. Defaults write com.apple.finder _ fx enable column auto sizing -bool. Yes, all caps yes, and then kill all Finder to relaunch the Finder.
Nice.
And then this just works. You just navigate into column view, and each column is sized exactly what it needs to be to fit the items that are in the list. It's pretty well done. I don't know why they haven't surfaced it sooner.
I'm feeling that this is turning more into Microsoft. I can't do it in the GUI. I got to run a PowerShell command.
See the previous episode.
Yeah. Joe, if you want to get into really janky programs that modify the behavior of your Mac, there's a company called Boring that makes a product called Boring Notch. So what it'll do is it'll modify the notch, which is at the top of your screen where your camera is, and you can use it for other things. So for instance, if you it's free, it's called the boring.name. That's how you get there. The BORING.name. The developer says, buy me a pizza. And you can use your notch to stop and start music, which is amazing. If you're playing, and it doesn't have to be just the Apple Music app. You could have another third-party app and it could stop and start. You could use it as a shelf to temporarily move a file and keep it there and then drag it somewhere else or airdrop it. So there's all these modifications of the behavior or the additions of what you could do with the notch on the top of your screen. And it makes it tremendously useful.
So it makes it like the dynamic island a little bit, I guess you would say, right? Like the dynamic island on the iPhone, you can press and hold, and then you get your music controls or your whatever live activities and things like that show up.
Exactly, yeah. And there's a video right on their main page, so you should really check it out. And it's terrific. It costs you nothing.
Cool.
Costs you a pizza, but
besides the pizza.
I guess you can bake the pizza yourself and save a little money and send it to them.
And you still got to get the supplies.
That's interesting. Yeah, I wonder how some of these things are done. Some of them are more hacky than others, but I like when Apple makes things extensible to some degree. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. I've got a couple more things. Jerry, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to talk about your podcast studio client deliverable, if that's something you wanted to chat about on the show, or maybe a Patreon episode either this week or future.
Yeah, it's not super secret.
Okay.
I'll tell everybody that's listening right now the main piece of equipment that I got. So I had a client approach me and she said, I want to do a podcast. And so it's really important when you spec something like this out. Does she want to do a podcast, or he or she want to do a podcast like we do, which we totally do it on the cheap. It's not like we broadcast in studios. We have reasonably inexpensive mics. Some have our mics cost a little bit more, and we just stream to StreamYard. So what you see is what you get. There's no slick intros and outros. There's no fades. It's just raw video, just streaming video. And that's not what she wanted to do. She's like a motivational speaker. So after doing a little Q&A and how would you like to do this? Would you like to do it like your people are sitting down on a couch with you? Do you need wireless mics? All these different things came into play. But the one universal, I think that was really helpful in making her podcast studio seem more professional was a product from Rode, RODE, and it's called the RØDECaster Video S. And it's not very much money in terms of what you can spend, obviously, on a podcaster or a pod studio, but there's a RODECaster Video S. And it's about $600.
Can I warn everyone, do not type in Podcaster Video X into your web browser?
S. S is in Sam.
You said X, and I got totally different results.
Oh, no. All right,
go ahead. Sorry.
This is an important clarification, though. So S, not X.
Continue. Okay, so it looks like the price has increased a little bit. By the way, as a sidebar to this conversation, did you guys see that Ubiquiti is charging a surcharge for all their products due to memory expense?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yep.
Oh, wow.
So this is called the RØDECaster Video S, as in Sam Valencia. And it's a switcher. So what it does is it allows you to switch from one camera to another. What makes a podcast interesting for people is doing a multiple camera shoot. And if you are your own podcaster person, and let's say you have other people who are in the studio, but you're setting up separate cameras, you could put this thing on auto switching. And as you talk, the camera switches to you. As they talk, another camera switches. You could do a wide shot. So you could put multiple cameras on this little box, and you could just switch back and forth either on the fly or put it in auto mode to do auto switching. And you can introduce media to it. So you can upload media to it. And so if you had a 30-second intro to your show, you could program it so the 30-second intro plays, your camera goes live, and at the same time you're recording. So you typically would attach an SSD drive to this Rode, and that's the best way to get the highest quality video, because you can have it connected to your Mac because there's a Mac interface for it, but you don't necessarily get the best quality. The best quality you do when you record, let's say at 1080p or something like that, is to recording direct to disk. And then you've got this, we'll call it raw footage or customized footage. And then you can just bring it over to your Mac and clean it up a little bit if you need to do it with edits, and you're good to go. So this was like the key to everything, really. Nice. The other challenge was finding cameras, affordable cameras that could record at a certain quality level, because the camera inputs on the back of this RØDECaster are HDMI inputs, and that provides you the best quality camera. And so typically when you're seeing a lot of these slick podcasts on YouTube, they're usually using some sort of a single reflex camera, like something that a photographer would take out.
Oh, like a DSLR, you mean, or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So not like a webcam, because the webcam is like the lowest quality you can get. You need cameras that can do HDMI out. Yep. And it was a real learning experience for me, but I learned a little bit to be dangerous, getting this thing to be operable, and I delivered the goods, and I was really apprehensive about it. It was sitting in my office for over a month, and I was anguishing over like, geez, I really don't know how to run this yet. Let me try to figure it out again. And so every time I walked by the office where it was like just loaded with equipment, I breathe this big sigh of relief, because I also purchased for her and tested a monitor and Rode Shure mics and RODECaster boom mics, and it was like a lot of stuff. And I'm just always so happy walking by and seeing it all gone.
All gone, yeah.
And paid for. I got paid for everything, yeah.
That's really cool. I may be coming to you at some point with questions around that, because I've wondered that, like, how do these studio podcasts work? Because everybody's familiar with the thing we do, like you're describing.
Sure.
Everybody connects using their webcam to some kind of service, whether it's done through Zoom or back in the day it was Skype. I chuckle about that. But now StreamYard, uploading, and whichever one can go right to YouTube and all. But yeah, like the idea of the either live switching where you could actually have a producer
exactly
between different different cameras. Even just with each person could have 2 cameras on them, or each person has a camera and then there's one wide shot or whatever.
So they make a bigger one, but this one has up to 4 cameras in 4 different scenes. Yeah. So it's terrific. And doing the overlays, it can put in overlays for you. So the lower third, like we're seeing here on YouTube, you could have those come in and out, fade in, fade out. A beautiful little box there. A real excellent feat of engineering. And the great thing about Rode is, and you buy something like this, they have literally 24/7 support. So a lot of times I dialed into their support line and I was talking to a fella in England who said, look, I don't care if I spend 5 minutes with you or 500 minutes with you. My time is yours. Let me help you do whatever you need to do or give you ideas. So
that's awesome.
That's unparalleled. Yeah, that's unparalleled. It's not like you're speaking to someone who they're reading out of a manual. These are people who really have hands-on experience. And there was one thing that I was having a problem with. One of the cameras was delivering some noise. It was actually the webcam. And I had improperly configured the RØDECaster. So it took them a little while to figure that out, like a couple of phone calls. But they were able to say, look, if we can't figure this out, send us some test videos. And which I did. And they said, oh, you've got an overlay in here. You've got a green screen effect going on. And that's why it's doing it. But they said we would gladly upload this to engineering, and engineering would take a look at it. And yeah, they were extremely responsible. So I can't say enough good things about the customer support.
That sounded like a really cool project. You mentioned, this is not why I brought it up, but you mentioned, of course, it's a video podcast. And to me, that's almost a misnomer. Although obviously I'm not the one making the rules here, because this is the direction it's all gone. This is why we do video now at your encouragement, Jerry, because being on YouTube is pretty important in this quote unquote industry or other video platforms, but YouTube is clearly the main one. Apple's getting on board. They sent out a little notification. This spring, we're introducing a new way to distribute video on Apple Podcasts. Learn more about video on Apple Podcasts, and they have a link there and all. So I don't remember if this is in the Podcasts app yet, or if there's going to be a new app for it, or whatever the case may be. I don't care that much. I don't know. Maybe we should put this video in the Apple Podcasts app. Let us know if anybody cares. But the reason I made a note of that is because from my perspective, video should never be the primary format for podcasts. The whole point of podcasts, to me, is that you can multitask audio with many other things. This is about the only thing that you can do that I would count as actual multitasking. I listen to podcasts when I'm doing the dishes, if I'm going for a walk, if I'm driving, cleaning. Sometimes if I'm working, if I'm doing something I don't have to think about, or if I'm not writing something, I can listen to somebody talking and I'm learning something, or it's keeping me entertained or whatever while I'm doing something else. So that's multitasking. And the reason that's possible is because most of the time you're not using your ears. You're just using your eyes and your fingers, and you're doing stuff, right? But you're not using your ears while you're doing it. So your ears can take in information. That's multitasking. If you have to also watch the video to get the gist of it or whatever, that's, to me, defeating the purpose of the multitasking. But I think for most podcasts, it's just an extra. If it's produced nicely, it is nice to look at. They have a cool studio. Maybe there's some cool neon stuff in the background, or there's little trinkets on the wall. Different people set up their studios in interesting ways. And so there's cool things to look at, but it's not the primary thing. And it should never be about the video, I would say.
The kids like the video, Joe. The kids.
They do. Yeah. Do they even watch?
By the way,
the kids.
Misnomer was my third grade teacher years ago.
Yeah.
Nice. Nicely done. I want to finish on a high note, unless either if you guys have anything else. So I wanted to just talk about DDM system updates, or DDM OS updates.
Here we go. By the way, I have to tell you this. I'm so glad you brought this up, because I look at some of your posts on Slack and you make my brain hurt. I just feel there's mush. I can't understand any of what Joe's asking, let alone like why he's asking it. Like, I don't know.
So here's why this came up.
It's true.
I was previously, there's system updates, like macOS updates, then there's upgrades, right? So for updates, for the longest time, I've been using MDM software updates in Adigy, and they work great for me. I think people have mixed results. For a while, we had MDM breaking on the Mac. If you go back 2 or 3 years or whatever it was, you had to have the MDM watchdog to fix MDM when that communication broke, and system updates were unreliable as a result of that. But in general, it's been working well for me. I added my own notification system because otherwise there was basically no notification. So I had a thing set up where it was like I scheduled my MDM software updates for all of my, or most of my clients, for Tuesdays and Wednesday evenings. I used Adigy monitoring items to detect if there was an update available, if it was within the update window, if the user was active on the system, and show them a prompt an hour before the update window, and then show them another prompt when it was getting closer, and also to detect, are they too low on battery? Do they have too little space, and pop up a different message if those were the cases. So I rolled my own notification system on top of MDM software updates, but for the most part, that was all working really well. And I think the sunk cost fallacy is probably why I was so late to the party on DDM updates, because I put so much work into engineering a really reliable system for me and my clients that I wanted to, I didn't want to switch it up for a while. So I rolled my own notification system on top of MDM software updates that were built into Adigy that were really reliable and good. And I delayed switching over to DDM because why fix what ain't broke, right? Then separate from that, of course, for software upgrades, when a client wants to go from Sonoma or Sequoia or whatever to Tahoe, you need a different system, or you did need a different system. MDM software updates wouldn't do that. So Adigy had the public software installer. So they would package the Tahoe installer from Apple into a deployable public software item that would also display a notification like, hey, your administrator wants to upgrade your system. Click here to install. It would prompt for the password if needed, and off to the races, with some exceptions. Like, what if the Mac's not compatible with Tahoe? Well, it would still show the thing that says we're trying to upgrade to Tahoe, and then it just wouldn't work. What if there wasn't enough space on the disk or enough battery? We didn't really plan for that either. And so there were a few limitations of this whole Apple installer that just was a little bit dicey. So then, of course, this went away. So there's no more public software catalog. That's been replaced by pre-built apps, which is fantastic. And we've talked about that on a previous show. So go to our website, commandcontrolpower.com, and look for the episode where we interviewed Michaela and Selena about those features. And pre-built apps works great, but it doesn't include the public software installer for Tahoe upgrades and things like that.
Right.
So then I was schooled on Adigy's channel on Slack that, oh, by the way, DDM does that. And I had no idea. So I did not realize that MDM software updates didn't do upgrades, but DDM software updates can also do upgrades. And I'm like, that's cool, but does it really work? I'm like a little skeptical because I just was thinking of the old days of MDM system updates.
Hell yeah.
Well, I have to say, it is fantastic. And Sam, you've known this for years or months, or I don't know, but
no, not years.
Okay, not years, but I'm very late to this party because I was just so impressed. So in the midst of all these changes, I've had these upgrades going for some of our not large clients, but clients with 10 or more machines where they want us to do our concierge service of upgrading their system at a certain time and doing them all at once and managing that for them. It makes my life so much easier. So the way I did the previous version was I had the public software installer for the Tahoe upgrade, which results in the prompt and the download and the installation as a public software item in the policy called Upgrade to Tahoe in Adigy, or in Jamf, it would be called the blueprint. Sam, is that right? You'd have a little, it's a thing that gets applied to certain Macs that you add to that policy or blueprint per se.
Right.
And when you put the Mac in that policy, now, okay, cool. Now it's in this policy. So all this stuff happens to it. So the software downloads and the prompt comes up and it installs. All I did was repurpose those policies to use the new DDM system updates. And the way these work is you just specify whether you want it to go to the maximum version or to a specific OS version. And or a specific maximum, do you want it to go to the latest version or a specific maximum version? Or you can use the kind of .99.99 notation. So in other words, if you want to always go to the latest version of Tahoe, whatever that happens to be at any given moment in time, you just type in maximum version 26.99.99, let's say. And so that, which version it is. So I have different policies for upgrading to, I guess this applies to Sonoma as well. No, because you can't upgrade like a 13 machine because that's not going to use DDM updates. So this would apply to my Sequoia and Tahoe upgrade policies. I have two, one for each. And so you specify the maximum version. In Sequoia, you would do 15.99.99 or whatever maximum specific one you want. And you then specify which days of the week that can happen on. You specify a time that should happen, what time of day that should be deployed, and how many days after release you want that to happen. So 26.4.1 is out. It's been out for whatever number of days, 20 something days as we record. And so I just said basically update to 26.4.1, 15 days after release at whatever time. And so I have that all pre-programmed in there. So when I'm ready to upgrade a fleet of Macs, I go into that Macs, those Macs in the policy. Let's say it's my client called Acme Co. And I select the Macs that need the upgrade. And I simply, in Adigy, you call it a flex policy. So I don't have to change the location policy. I don't have to say, switch from Acme Co. to Tahoe upgrade policy. Instead, I just leave them in Acme Co. and I apply the flex policy to those 10 or 15 Macs or whatever. And that's it. I just sit back and wait. And if I've, configured like a boss, literally I'm getting, so as we record, I am getting emails that pop up as a little notification because I have that in my VIPs to say Mac upgraded to 26.4.1, Mac upgraded. And this literally happens within minutes of my scheduled time. It's amazing.
I'm getting chills just having you talk about it.
It's so cool. It's so freaking cool. It must have downloaded ahead of time because it finished the upgrade within, it's almost too quick after the window. I don't know how it did it that quickly. It's amazing. The other thing in Adigy is I have these monitoring items. That's another concept in Adigy. And one of them is configured to OS version changed alert, right? It basically sends me an email when the OS version changes. Now, I don't want that every time every OS version changes for all my clients, obviously. So I just have that monitoring item applied to this specific policy. So my workflow is just like I said, I add the Mac to this policy. It downloads in the background. It puts an alert on their screen. It says a managed software update is scheduled to be installed at this time. Again, the time that I specify. And then it just happens. If it needs a password, it'll ask for a password. That depends on if they have a secure token, I think, is the factor probably there. But in most cases, it just works without any user interaction. And then I add it to the policy, I wait, and then I get this email that says this person's Mac upgraded. Cool. And I go back into Adigy and I take it out of that policy and we're done. And so then this Tahoe upgrade policy, I can then change the time depending on the client. So some clients say, yeah, end of day, 5 p.m., have at it. Other clients say, oh, we might be there late, whatever, 6 p.m. So I will adjust that time as time goes on. The one thing is if it missed the window of that time, let's say the time is set to 5:30 p.m. local. By the way, this is all local time to the Mac, wherever it is in the world. So let's say I set it to 5:30 p.m. local and it's now 6 p.m. and then I apply the policy. The Mac will pop up a message saying a managed update is scheduled for tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. because it's already past that original window. But if you put so basically my workflow is set the time that I want this to happen. If I have an upgrade scheduled for tomorrow, then go in and that day, the day of, it could be the morning of or whatever, midday, I add the Macs to that policy so that they're there ahead of time. And then the user will actually see that prompt during the day. So they have a reminder that this is happening at night. It'll just pop up in their notification center. So it's using the built-in system for those notifications. I can add my own notifications as well. So I can detect for issues and still pop things up if I want to, but I don't think I'll even really need to do that. I can't say enough great things about how this whole workflow works now that it's all dialed in. It's great.
And DDM kicks some serious butt for sure.
That's way better. I understood it's directive, it's declarative, it's just more definitive, right, than MDM was. And
plus, you've leveraged Adigy to be a boss, and you've put in the time and the hard work to make it do your bidding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I put in hours upon hours to dial all this stuff in. And it was amazing to be able to leverage my existing workflow and just tune it for DDM and just have at it. I did have to, when I switched from MDM to DDM, of course, you have to configure the DDM settings that you didn't have up until now. So I had to go in and adjust those times and versions and things like that in that section. And that all went very well. one little wrinkle was I noticed that initially it wasn't working, and I was wondering why. And so there was a existing policy with an update schedule for those machines. So if the machine was running Sequoia, it was automatically, again, thanks to Adigy Flex policies and auto assignment, it was being auto assigned to my Sequoia updates policy that was saying limit the macOS version to 15.7.5. So it would always update my Macs to 15.7.5, but no higher. That policy, because it was more restrictive, was overriding my Tahoe upgrade policy that was newer and that was being added. So what I did was I changed the auto assignment criteria for that Sequoia updates policy to say, if the Mac is in this Tahoe upgrade policy, don't apply the Sequoia updates policy. So it's in one or the other, basically. And again, it's really cool. As soon as you take it out of that policy because it's finished upgrading it to Tahoe, now it gets auto-assigned to the Tahoe updates policy. Now it's getting updated under Tahoe. So it's just the levels of flex policies, the way they implemented DDM updates, and the existing systems that we've all been using, like monitoring items and maintenance items and custom facts and things like that. All those things work together really well. And Sam, I'm assuming, because I know you do some Jamf as well, like Jamf has a lot of these features and it's just different names and things, but the way this stuff works when you've spent the time to dial it in to work the way you work and the way your clients expect, it's great to be able to just like say, yeah, I can upgrade your Macs to, imagine that. I can upgrade your Macs to Tahoe. What time do you want that to happen? Click a button and it's done. That's really impressive.
Yeah, we had a whole bunch of hokey ways to get it done in the past, but now all that is gone, been ripped out of every system in favor of DDM.
Why did no one tell me? Sam, why didn't you tell me?
I thought you knew.
Yeah, I know. No, you definitely told me, but I was a little stubborn in letting go of all the work I had put into MDM system updates.
Yeah.
I was like, wasn't ready to reinvent the wheel, but I'd say there were some growing pains. I had to troubleshoot why isn't this working and whatever initially, but it was a quick fix and then it's just been great since then. So yeah, if you're not on that party bus yet, I'd strongly encourage listeners out there to get on board. And if you're not using MDM, there's a lot of our listeners like us who've been around doing this for a long time who may still not be using MDM. Adigy is a place to start. I highly recommend it. There's a great community of people that are supportive out there. The answers that I just gave, these came from our colleagues on Slack who were and an Adigy support themselves as well. But it's amazing the amount of support you get out there just by throwing a crazy question that makes Jerry's head spin. But Jerry will give me answers on one day and somebody else will give me answers on another day. And we get the job done by the collective. So good work, Adigy. Thank you for that. And
Adigy for the win.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, thanks everybody for listening to another Command Control Power, and we appreciate your support and your listening. If you want to hear more great episodes where we talk in depth about all of this stuff, as well as all the, dirty secrets and opening the kimono and all that stuff, that's in Patreon.
Movies, politics.
We talk about it all. So yeah, join us at commandcontrolpower.com and click on support. And we really appreciate everything you do in the community.
Conspiracy theories.
Yeah, lots of those too. Yeah. Special thanks to the following community members whose strong monthly support has sustained us for all these years. Ryan Gowdy, CoreCompetent.com. Weldon Dodd, Kanji.io. Richard Wingfield, EnvisionDesign.net. Adam Rice, AskAdam.io. Mac Admins Podcast, podcast.macadmins.org. Tim Nyberg, TheMacGuys.com. Michael Thompson, Origin84.com. Matthew Waples, Waples.net. Tom Puls, BoxIT.tech. Jerome Potters, PITPro.nl. Steve Sorbo, MacSOS.biz. Andy Espo, CallAndy.com. And Nate Sinal, WeAreAScout.com. Thank you all very much, and thanks to our patrons at every level of support. If you enjoy the show, we really would love your support. And if you already support us and can increase your monthly pledge, we really do find that encouraging. CommandControlPower.com and click support. Thanks very much for listening and for supporting the show.
Jerry does his voices of customers of all kinds.
Am I on the cloud?
Joe spins his deeply detailed yarns all the time.
I have a whole story about this.
Sam is on the road again, phoning in from a hotel.
At least we know where I am.
Half a century